if you're sick of it yet.
Watch it happen. What's wrong with you?
I'm pissed off and I'm tired.
Like the rest of Canada. Do you know how we fix that? Ketone IQ. But this one has caffeine. Do you know how much caffeine I just ingested right before we started recording?
No, but it might explain a lot.
100 milligrams.
Really?
Yes, this teeny tiny little bottle has 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. Let me make sure I'm very sure on that. Hold on.
We have to fact check briefly.
Hold on. No, I'm almost sure, but it's on the top of the label. Hold, please. Yep, 100 milligrams of natural caffeine. So my point is...
What is natural caffeine? What does that mean?
Oh, they use... Natural caffeine is from green tea.
Oh,
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. They don't have any bullshit in their stuff. I told you, there's no sugar, there's no protein. In this one, there is vitamin B6, 3 milligrams, vitamin B12, 7.2 milligrams, and then ketones, obviously, 5 grams as usual, and then green tea. My point is, I was crashing after recording all morning, and then we were going to record, so ketone IQ keeps me alive.
See, that's what I need right now in my life, because I also was recording all morning and crashing, and I'm like, fuck it, we're powering through, baby.
Send it. Listen, I'm going to send you some. I'm actually going to be in your area in 2 weeks, so I'll bring you a box when we record there. But for those who don't know who Jasmin Laine is, everybody, please take a listen to this amazing human. You have heard her rant if you follow me. You have seen me on her recent show, which is charting, and as it should be charting, on the top podcast of the globe, because she is not only a human that looks at politics, she humanizes politics. She's also the person who decided to step away from the mainstream garbage, lying media and start being honest and open about the absolute disaster of the communist dictatorship of Canada, and started to give her opinions in a very unapologetic way that is not only digestible for me, but also makes me happy, because it looks like her and I are going to be doing some fun things together where you're going to get the yin to the yang and the dark and the light. I'm sure you guys can guess which side I am. And we're going to go from there. So most importantly, what are we pissed off about today?
Man, if I can be completely frank with you, this started this morning, and this is my bad. I done goofed myself because I was on Facebook, which I never do. What?
Done goofed myself.
I did. I done goofed myself.
Okay, love this.
But no, today my extreme rage is 100% targeted at censorship, without a doubt. I am actually, and I think something, I just, I know this, I've talked about this a lot, but I really, really saw it this morning. I was on Facebook, which I'm never on, and the amount of people who are just resharing these things as though they are completely true, but I know for a fact that they are absolutely not true, because I do this for a living. I'm in here like 16 hours a day researching this shit, reading bills, listening to testimony. I know that what they're saying isn't true, but they say that it's true. And I got most frustrated when there was one person in particular who, I'm not sure if you're familiar, you probably are, but there was a story that broke, I think it was late last week, if I'm not mistaken, it was early this week, saying that Mark Carney had been targeted by Chinese foreign interference.
I know this one.
Headline everywhere. However, if you read the story, which I know is very difficult, the story actually said that no, Mark Carney was not targeted by it. He was propped up by Chinese foreign interference. And so somebody had commented underneath this one post, and they said something to the effect of, well, that's not true. That's Chinese foreign interference. That's lying to mislead you. And I'm thinking to myself, no, honey, that's not how that story went at all, actually, because the Chinese foreign interference of which you are referring to was, in fact, not anything that was spreading lies about Mr. Carney. They were telling the public that they should vote for him, essentially. They were propping up his position. So you already have that wrong. And I had shared this with this woman in the comment section, and it is very rare that I actually indulge in comment sections when they start to piss me off. But I just got to a point where I was like, this is actually crazy. There are so many people reposting this and everything right now, and this is simply not true. That's it. And I shared that, and she said that I needed to do more research, and then said that she only believes in links with actual evidence and data in them. So I went onto Google and I typed in Mark Carney plus foreign interference, where I found links dating back from the last 5 years or so of different things that Mark Carney has been involved in. And I sent them to her in a comment, and I got that lovely little pop up that says, "You can't share news in Canada." And that sent me off the wall. And it also really made me kind of realize again, Bill C-18, the Online News Act, which ever so conveniently started rolling out their payments 2 weeks ago during the election cycle or campaign cycle. Bill C-18, though, Online News Act, it said, oh, it's to promote fairness for journalists and fairness for news reporters.
What journalists?
Yeah. So we're getting outside sources to pay the federal government, and then the federal government is deciding who exactly that money gets allocated to. I can confirm to you that I, in fact, have more views per video than CBC has for months now, and I didn't get a dime, but CBC certainly did on top of our tax dollars. And that was just really outrageous. And it just made me really mad that it just made me really mad. Yeah, it made me mad and pissed off at the fact that our government knew, obviously, that something like Meta, and people will say all the time, oh, well, who even uses that anyway? Who cares? A lot of people use it, actually. Who even watches the CBC? Who cares? Yeah, a lot of people do actually have it on in the background. A lot of, there's things in there that happen in passing. And when you hear the same message multiple times, it's pretty easy to just assume that because you've heard it so many times, it must be true when that is not the case.
When you
And
repeat the lie enough times, it becomes the truth.
Exactly. And so that just really pissed me off today. Because I think it was the first really in my face moment where I realized that Instagram and Facebook are without a doubt the most vile, unhinged comment sections I've ever seen on any platform. And the fact that those are the two platforms owned by Meta who did not want to pay the federal government money in order to show people's content on it. And that's also the place, though, where things are so unhinged. And I think that it's it's a direct result of the fact that if somebody says something that's not true, you can't even say, that's not true. Here's my source as to why, because you immediately get blocked from that. And then what happens? Well, people aren't going to go to the lengths most of the time of taking screenshots or making a graphic so that you can show somebody what they're saying isn't true. They just get annoyed and pissed off and they close the app and move on with their life. And so I'm really noticing in on Facebook and on Instagram right now, this insane cesspool and echo chamber of, one person who decided to make a graphic that wasn't true and share it as though it was true, and nobody even being able to fact check it. And that really pissed me off. And I'm still talking. Sorry that I'm not letting up.
Please continue.
And then even more than that, there was a lady who I used to work with, actually, and she's a lovely, lovely lady, like very, very kind. And she is, what's the opposite of being red pilled? Like idiot pilled? Clear pilled, see-through pilled.
See-through, I mean, blind, deaf, and dumb pilled. Head in the sand
pilled. That sounds like a disease.
But disease.
That's true. Okay, fair.
Valid. That's not wrong. Run it.
So this old coworker of mine is definitely suffering from a catastrophic version of BDD, and she posted something.
I just got it.
Thank you. So she had posted something, though, about the Conservative Party, and it was this clip of Mark Carney, and he was talking about China, and he was praising China and praising their government and their economy in this clip. This is something Mark Carney has talked about for years. There is so much video footage of this, and this lady posted this picture image saying, there's this picture right now, or this fucking thing claiming that Mark Carney did this or that. It is absolutely fake. It is AI. It's fake. It's not true. Guess, by the way, who it was that made this? Oh, it came from this account and this account. They're funded by the conservative government and na na na. And I'm like, bitch, I know who owns that account. And it does have a really large following. I think it's like close to 1 million on Facebook. I'm like, I know whose account that is. I was on the phone with him 2 days ago, and I can confirm to you that he is not paid by anybody. And I can also confirm to you that that video about Mark Carney is not AI. And if you think he sounds crazy and it's obviously fake, that's probably because he's fucking crazy. And he's obviously fake. Like, I'm like, that is a real clip. And yeah, I think if you were to look at it through the context of, oh, this is AI, you would think, oh, this is AI. Because to be frank, he has some weird body movements in it. He's talking kind of weird and monotone, but it's a real video. I've watched the whole 23-minute long segment of that interview he did where he said that. Like, that is a real video. And I commented that on her picture and she deleted it.
Of course she did, because why wouldn't she allow the truth to actually have space to grow and be seen and like validated? We don't allow that. And it's funny that you say that too, because the one thing that I'm finding absolutely bananas right now is any sort of political pundit, any other individual who's speaking on behalf of, not even behalf of, in a positive light for the Conservative Party right now is being called a bot or a plant. I just got that on my Substack today. The very first time I wrote by the way, Amy is all proud of me. I wrote my very first political piece on Substack today. And the first comment is, "Are you a plant?" What? You mean because I finally started talking about the thing that I talk about to everybody else, just not out loud? I'm a plant now? Let me be very fucking clear. Do I think Pierre is the best for the country? No. Do I think anybody that we currently have as an option is best for the country? No. Do I think we have another choice? No. Is it better than Mark? Absolutely. Do we have to vote for him? For sure, if we want anything left. That being said, I'm still not sold on the dude. I'm not sold on any of our political candidates. Even furthermore, I'm not sold on any of the other MPs we have in the country, including my own local one that I talk shit to regularly because she doesn't do or allow, because the egos in all of these parties and the people that are running the fucking candidacy have no way will they allow any other conversation to be had other than the same talking points. And they wonder why no other young Canadian gives a shit, because it's not actually going to help us in the way you say it is. Talk to us about schools and SOGI and government overreach. Talk to us about the homeless population. Talk to us about a real solution. Don't just say we're going to fix it. Show me how. Show me a roadmap. You can't. That's because you're not going to. So it's no different. So what are you frustrated and angry? It's valid.
I just, I was close. I was close today to ripping out this hair, but my God, it's taken so long to go back ever since I burnt it off while bleaching it when I was 17. It's been years. So
you should do, those are the days you get a wig. And that's what we should start doing on our new show, is we should wear, on the days where we know we're about to go off, when the wig comes off, that's how you know it's on. I'm just going to make a race joke there.
For cultural appropriation if we do that, though.
Why?
It'll be like we're taking off the weave in those viral videos. They're fun.
It's okay. My partner's black. We have a card.
Perfect.
We have the card now. I've been told by family members we've had the card. I want to talk to you about something because it's happened again, and I want your take on it, because you used to be you used to be a journalist. You're obviously not now. Clearly, you're not now.
No, now I'm just a gal.
Now you're just like a gal podcaster, which have more political power, which have more real movement, that yet somehow Pierre's team and Mark's team still don't understand that they think they're in control, which is actually comical at best. So the point is, Maclean's magazine has really been on my nerves lately. They've been on my nerves. And first they did the hit piece where they pushed a veteran to want to kill himself, and then used and went after myself and Jordan Peterson in the whole thing, and thought that somehow they're going to get away with that. And then They just did another one where they're promoting assisted suicide once again and euthanasia once again. And look, once again, we still have more now where they're coming after. I love this new one. Alberta called. I shouldn't have answered. I left Toronto for the promise of endless skies, soaring mountains, and accessible home ownership. And it didn't take long to realize it was a mistake. Do you not? Do people really believe this bullshit from McLean's when they talk out loud? Do people really?
Like, what was the mistake about Alberta? It was too conservative?
I think what it was just too open, too honest, too real, too, I don't know. Like, oh, let's give you a snippet from it, okay? So what I really enjoy about it is this promise as a single person renting an overpriced shoebox condo in Toronto. It was a compelling argument. The prairies weren't foreign for me either. I grew up in Saskatchewan. And they go through all of this. And then they go to the fact that I got a stable job, all of this. And 1 month later, I was living in a sunny 1-bedroom den in the city of, what was it, Calgary, around 300,000, less than half of a similar unit in Toronto. Still waiting to find out what the problem is here. Still waiting. Still waiting. Nope, can't find one. But we definitely did pick a very liberal looking white woman in a nice blue blazer to make sure that we really just, we just hammered that point home. And then she started talking about how she was falling behind financially. All of her older friends had responsibilities and spouses and kids, but not her, because we don't actually want women to have children. And then she starts talking about not only the prices, but she even held on to her 416 phone number because she was so attached to Ontario. And she starts talking about how we should switch to a return to Ontario campaign because Alberta was such shit to live in. They were talking about, just absolute shit to live in. Home ownership was completely out of reach. And I thought to myself when I'm reading this, does she understand that there's no way in hell she would have ever been able to own a home in Toronto, but she could actually own one in Alberta?
That's what was going through my head the entire time. I'm like, what are you talking about? What?
They basically, her whole thing and they literally spent, I don't know how long writing and interviewing this absolute twat of a woman. And this woman who's, by the way, with the definition of like the liberal, like winning situation, which is no spouse, no children, living on her own. They're not trying to promote that at all though, right? And so they were talking about how it would made her sad because she couldn't go to the TIFF Film Festival and cheer her friends on. She couldn't go watch the Rogers games. And she was talking about the migration in Alberta and how there's too many people. Oh my God. Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Row Nutrition. If you guys have not heard of them, please stop what you're doing right now. Go over to their website at Row Nutrition and take a look because you guys know more than ever, I care so deeply about my mental well-being, my physical, and my TBIs. I do everything I can to look after my body, whether that's cold plunge, ketones, or otherwise. But Row Nutrition is my newest additive, and I have to tell you, I am feeling like money. Let's talk about it. If you're struggling with brain fog, you are slower to recover at times and you're feeling more down. Even if you feel like you're doing everything right, like I was doing, this is what you need. Let's talk about why. The reality is when you hit your 30s, I'm going on 36, your body's NAD levels, a critical molecule that fuels your energy recovery and brain clarity, they drop by half, nearly half. No wonder we're all burnt out. And that's exactly why I partner with them. They use a liposomal NAD. And let me be completely straight up with you and honest, it's incredible. Normally, you need to go and get NAD IVs for this result, but not with Row. I am experiencing sustained clean energy, sharper focus, which we all need, and faster recovery. I don't have any jitters. I don't have any crashes. And this is an energy like others that keep me performing my best. It's critical. Let's talk about NAD in general. It fuels your mitochondria. If you guys don't remember high school science, that's what we're talking about. That is the powerhouses in your cells responsible for your energy and clarity. And like I said before, the only real way to get it before was really expensive, uncomfortable, which I've done, IV treatments. But Row Nutrition has completely changed the game with their new technology. No needles, no downtime, just maximum absorption and results. I have felt the change. And you guys know I only use products that I actually use. So I want you guys to go and give us one a try. It's risk-free. So it is backed by their 60-day money-back guarantee. And I believe in this enough to give you guys 20% off. So go head over to rownutrition.com/discount/Kelsey20 and use your code Kelsey20 at checkout. Now, the one thing I want you to understand is that when you do this, you're not just doing this for you. You're doing this for everyone else around you, because when you feel good, others around you start to feel just as good as well. So go check them out. And brought to you by Ketone IQ. If you guys have not heard or seen me drinking these little bottles right here, you have been missing out. These guys right here are single-handedly the biggest part of my routine. Outside of the functional mushrooms, the movement, the sleep, the hydration, Ketone IQ is a number one most important tool that I use in my toolbox. And let me tell you why. If you guys have never experienced runner's high, give this a try. That flow state, it is for real. Ketones are a uniquely powerful macronutrient that can cross the blood-brain barrier, and they increase the brain energy efficiency. And every time you take a Ketone IQ, you're going to notice the radical boost in performance, endurance, and just focus in general. For me, I use this when I road bike, when I run. As a mother, instead of using caffeine after 12 o'clock, I go and grab a ketone. More importantly, I use it before I podcast, before I do keynotes or anything important in my life. You will see a ketone in my bag, on the table, or anywhere near me. So do yourself a favor. Once you're done listening to this awesome episode of the Kelsey Sharon Perspective, go on over to the website partner.ketone.com/Kelsey. You're going to save, go grab yourself a subscription so you never miss out and you always have the energy you need. And brought to you by XXXY Athletics. You guys can check them out at xx-xyathletics.com and make sure you use the code Kelsey20. That will help you save. I'm so excited to be a new ambassador of XXXY. I absolutely love what they stand for, and I'm proud to work with them because they are founded on truth, dedication to quality, and they are built for style and performance. Women deserve the opportunities that sports and single-sex spaces provide, because sex matters at the end of the day. It is the single biggest determinant of athletic performance, and it's completely unfair and dangerous, as most of you know, to allow males who are XY chromosome to compete with girls and women who are XX in sports. You guys can share your stories just by doing the hashtag workout speak out. Tag myself, Kelsey_Sharon, and the XX_XY athletics on Instagram, and we will share everything. We need to get fit and speak our minds, mobilize into a force that fights back for women's sports. So start fighting. The way that you do that is go to XX-XY Athletics, go use the code Kelsey20 at checkout, slap on that gear, signal to the world that you are done allowing others to walk into female spaces. I believe in this brand. I believe in the mission. I believe in what they do. So go grab some now. Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Good Living. I am so excited to tell you about something that's become such a meaningful part of my wellness routine, Good Living. Now, this isn't any brand. This is actually a brand I know all of the owners behind. And let me tell you, their integrity, their dedication, and their quality is the real deal. Their microdosing and functional blends are crafted with intention, and you can feel it. Everything is tested and made to support you in tapping into your own rhythm. We're talking about blends for anxiety, depression and stress, ADHD, brain health, inflammation, sleep, and energy. Seriously, they have thought of everything possible. I know firsthand how much love they pour into every single product. So if you're ready to check them out and explore more, go to itsgoodliving.com. And trust me, it's a journey worth taking. That's itsgoodliving.com, itsgoodlivin.com. And make sure to use the code BRASS and get 20% off your first order today.
What?
From Toronto.
To Alberta to Calgary, by the way. Not even Edmonton, Calgary.
Huh. That's really something, I tell ya. Also, Kate, but listen, what is the purpose of that? You're just upset, and so you're just venting in your journal, and then you decide to publish it in Maclean's? Is that what that story is about?
But I suppose, this is what I don't understand. I want to know, okay, first off, let's take a look at who this apparent journalist is. By the way, that's by Sherry Block. I left Toronto with the promise of endless skies. Like, Do you punch yourself in the face when you write this, or do you just use ChatGPT? Because I couldn't really tell either way. The writing is so atrocious. It is actually horrendous to read. The promise was alluring. Who taught you how to write? It's gross. As a single person renting. Oh, we can tell you're single. Have you seen the look on your face and your body? Not to like judge a woman, but you look like a miserable spinster, and there's a reason why you haven't had children yet. My only point to this and what I'm stating is that there are people like McLean's who are still seen as these, like, I don't know, voices of influence, as if anybody in Canada gives a fuck about what you're writing or saying. And the thing that also gets me is they think they're above defamation laws.
Oh my God, don't even get me going there.
We're evening. No, we're evening. Continue.
McLean's annoys me. Actually, most of legacy media and journalist organizations irritate me because, it's one thing to at least outwardly admit your bias, and then at least that way people know that you have a bias, right? If we all do. Typically, once you learn more about a story, you're going to have a bias. That's human nature for the most part, unless, of course, you are in a position where you're not allowed to, which, I don't know if you're like a judge or something. I don't know. But it's the thing about organizations, sorry, like McLean's is the simple fact that you claim to not have a bias and then proceed to tell everybody your bias in your writing while still claiming to not have a bias. Same with CBC, same with CTV. There's all of them. And the thing about that I dislike is because it's so disingenuous. And, I bet you anything that if there was any news organization or in an article or whatever the hell it is that directly said at the top, and it was well known, everybody knew, hey, by the way, we are left leaning, that at least then the viewer or reader has an honest idea as to what you're going to be about. And they know that you are not, in fact, unbiased and claiming to report the true reality of life and our country and our situations. And it's just so irritating to me. And you know what? Actually, I'm circling back a tad here, but even we had said a little bit earlier about people like calling you a bot or whatever. I get that all the time too. It's constant. It's nonstop. Oh, are you funded by China? It's funny. I used to be funded by Russia, and now it's China. Crazy. I didn't know I had so many friends all across the globe.
Literally, money.
Like, yeah, right. But like, it's just so crazy to me, the amount of things that people say. And we have absolutely created this culture, which I think is absolutely propped up by the media, by our governments as well, who regularly insult us and shame us, for having views that oppose their ideology, which is perfectly legal and right in a democratic society. Just gonna throw that out there. But it's irritating to me how many people truly believe that they are absolutely invincible on the internet. And you know what the sad part is they say, oh, we're going to put forth things like Bill C-63, it's for online harms, and we're going to do things here. It's going to be good for bullying. You know what, though? That's not actually how that has worked. There is absolutely, without a doubt, a two-tiered policing system in this country, two-tier justice. It's do as I say, not as I do. And if you choose to do something that opposes what I want you to do, you're going to be the one who is punished, nobody else. I can't tell you how many times I have responded back to somebody in a comment. And to be fair, too, like listen, I'm Zen, baby. And so like, I do not let myself get too overwhelmed by people who are commenting things to me. Yet I have literally made comments back to people before where my language is, that's a really silly perspective to have, and here's why. Playing it cool and safe. And all of a sudden, my comment will get removed because it violates community guidelines. And I'm like, well, what about everybody else here who's calling me an istphobe, whatever insult rolls off their tongue, and they're posting it freely, and it's totally fine. They're saying things that are absolutely defamatory, absolutely slanderous, and it's A-okay, and nobody cares, and their comments are getting removed. But me saying silly is getting removed? Get wrecked. And so that's the thing that annoys me, is that it has punished one group of people, not necessarily for what they say, but for how they live, what they believe in, their values, freedom of religion. What's the charter anyway? And the other group of people are almost rewarded for it. And
Yeah.
and it's reiterated through media, and it's infuriating because you have absolutely created a culture of being able to do and say and treat people however which way you want to, as long as you're on our side. You will
Right.
not be targeted, and you are invincible on the internet. And it's very challenging for people to take things like that down. It really it's incredibly challenging, and it's frustrating beyond all hell. But listen, I got a good lawyer, so
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. I think in Canada, there's this understanding that we defamation is acceptable. Like you can get away with stuff in America because of the freedom of speech laws. This is why I go to America to do, excuse me, any major podcast because we're protected when we're there. Like when I did Trig recently and it hit over 1 million, like I sat down with the guys when I was at ARC and I was like, how's the episode? They're like, it's absolutely killing it, but you should see the amount of like dying with dignity pundits and like pro-death people who were like, she's a liar, she's wrong, you have to take it down. And she's like, they're like, we've seen the proof, you're not. And so the problem is they think that they have a right to force it. They're no different than when Justin Trudeau's office emailed Sean Ryan to get Dallas Alexander's episode down. He's like, fucking sit and spin, freedom of
yeah.
speech. You can't touch us. So there's no reason why. Obviously, going to America has its pros and its cons, but like when you have people like McLean's, like they did a piece in January and ready for the title, Why America Can't Conquer Canada. Okay, here's the thing. Let me just be real clear about this. And this is no disrespect to the current people serving the Canadian military. But if you are serving the Canadian military, you know how accurate I am when I say this. Forget the Army, the Air Force, or the Navy. Fucking forget all of them. Forget special operations. They just need to roll the United States Marines to the border. Let me be very clear about crayon eating Marines. It was prison or Marines. Do you know what those dudes are like? And those women are like? Because I have a lot of crayon eating friends. It would take 24 hours. 20, I'll give them 22. I'll give them 22. They would steamroll this country so fast, it would make actual people's heads physically spin off of their body. Like, you don't understand. And when idiocy decides to have a platform in any way, shape, or form like this, they not only make themselves look half retarded, they make anybody else that associates with the organization. And my favorite, and I will move on after this, my new favorite one. Oh my God. I wrote about it in my Substack yesterday.
I didn't read it. Sorry, not sorry.
Oh, no. You don't have to apologize. But there was a moment where I was actually reading a McLean's article and they were promoting suicide, like promoting assisted suicide. It was another article they've done how the doctor was like, insomnia. And at the top was an ad for war amps, which are literally people that will be targeted in 2027 with the new expansion. So the hypocrisy for me was too much. I couldn't even. I had to stop writing, call someone and laugh because I was like, do you want to see what I'm looking at right now? Because it just blew my mind. So I was sitting there going like, between Bell, Let's talking on one side of their mouths and then donating to them on the other side of their mouths. And then you start to look at people like these massive organizations who just want but Kelsey, they just want to get the tax receipt. Well, then give the tax receipt, like donate to somebody else where it's actually doing something and get the tax receipt from them. But they don't. I want to talk to you about your opinion on something because this one blew my mind and it's being brushed under the rug. And I want people to understand the severity of what this means because for those that don't understand, okay, Chinese people are not bad.
No.
No country inherently is bad. Their people are not bad, right? Obviously, there's bad people in the country, but they're not inherently bad. Now, the CCP, on the other hand, are a whole different duck. And when I say different duck, I mean they're a scary people for a reason because of the influence. Can you describe to me and the listeners how fucking insane it is for I'm going to say my opinion, unelected prime minister to call or allow any of their people below them
to publicly state that a bounty should be put on a Canadian journalist's head and they should be sent to the CCP, which, let's be very clear, there is over 1,200 active concentration camps, including the Uyghurs. And by concentration camps, they are called forced labor camps until you die. That's where he wanted a Canadian citizen to be grabbed up and sent to. And the unelected prime minister just fucked with that.
Well, Kelsey, you're forgetting a crucial fact here.
Oh, what's that?
He said he was sorry.
Oh, in the level right now. Are you good?
I don't know. Am I good?
Yes. We're going to
Yeah.
continue.
Wow, we
Well,
are
look,
never
that-
talking about China again.
We're going to talk about it right now. So Jasmin is embarrassed by her headphones. So what I wanted to do is make her more comfortable. So I figured I would take my XXXY athletics, because we believe that men should never be in women's sports, sweater, and put it on my head to make her feel better about herself. Do you feel better about yourself?
Honestly, no, I still think I look worse than you, but maybe not, actually.
We can make it worse.
You look like you're in Handmaid's Tale. Oh, not anymore.
I don't know what the Handmaid's Tale is, but I'm sure it was great. Yeah.
Okay.
I live in that rock life. Yep.
That's fine, I
Mhm.
guess.
Listen, this is for you. This is not for me. I want you to know. Guys, so we were talking about China. Let's continue talking about China. China's a fucking problem. And when you decide that you should have an individual that is taken over to another communist country that is known for brutality towards journalists, you have to understand what that means when somebody is calling for that. Regardless of you apologizing, that means that you actually thought it. That means that you think it could happen. And that means that you, if you say it out loud long enough, it could potentially really, truly happen. So how do journalists get away with this? How do people get away with printing things like this? How?
Well, honestly, again, do as I say, not as I do, clearly. But this whole situation, more than anything, there was a handful of journalists who were actually pretty upset about it, and good for them for actually having some integrity with it. But I think overall, the situation is, there's so many people who I think would say, oh, well, it's not a big deal. Oh, well, it was just something silly that he said. Well, let's factor in a few things here. Number one being that he said it at a Chinese event, and typically Chinese press does not get translated to English in the country. So he said it in front of a whole bunch of Chinese people who were in the country. It's also very important to note that the individual who this was said against, I believe his name is Joe Tay, he actually has a bounty on him in Hong Kong because he's a dissident of the CCP. So the fact that you would say that about a political rival who currently has a bounty on him is horrifying. And the fact that he wasn't immediately removed from, because he was an elected official, and it was bizarre to me to hear the media as well as our current de facto prime minister, Mark Carney, say, oh, well, he's an outstanding community member. He's really served us. He was a police officer for 20 plus years. And I'm like, oh, so clearly he was terrible at his job and doesn't know the law or respect civilians. Got it.
Right.
It was a really weird way to have some sort of like a defense mechanism about that. And are you familiar at all with the Jamal Khashoggi case out of Saudi Arabia?
Oh, am I ever?
So those types of things are very serious, and they're very
So very real, and they're very, very, very real.
Yeah. And the fact that that would be uttered from a former RCMP officer as well as from an elected official is horrifying, and that it wouldn't immediately be condemned is horrifying. And it's crazy to me that a story like that comes out during the election cycle, and most people, it's just under the rug. Oh, it's fine. He said he was sorry. Honey, that's not fine.
No, it's not fine in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that he was a federal Canadian police officer does not help his case.
No, it makes it
Actually
worse.
hurts his case. It makes it so much worse because then it makes me question what else have you
Put your
done?
towel back on for your sweater.
I am so-
Thank you.
What else have you done that is so much? This is people are gonna think I'm Muslim now. What else have you done that has been so in the gray area because you thought you wouldn't get caught? This is what I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand how no outside media picked this up, how Fox didn't touch this, how America didn't touch this, PBD didn't touch this, Rogan didn't touch this. I want to understand how nobody is understanding the severity of an individual being called to be taken to another country to be killed, because that's exactly what it means. A bounty does not mean he's being returned to his family to go work. It means he's going to be killed and more than likely tortured to death.
Yeah. Well, and here's another interesting piece of the puzzle too. So this had broken on it was on a Friday. Mainstream media didn't actually pick it up until about the Monday is when they finally started talking about it. So even that, it's like you're patiently waiting a few days till mainstream media decides to touch this after it wasn't independent who broke it. And on top of that, though, when it happened, it was very much hush-hushed. CTV News did have a pretty good job, at least, of documenting it and talking about how serious it was. That lasted, maybe a 48-hour news cycle, and it was over and done with. And everybody else, everybody who did speak on it was pretty clear about how deplorable it was. But nobody was demanding for him to be removed from office or removed from candidacy under the Liberal Party as a result, except for the Conservatives. And even in the news headlines, they read conservatives demand that Paul Chang be removed after, I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but even that alone is really misleading. It's like, no, this isn't just conservatives demanding it. This is also other Chinese dissidents who are now fearful for their life because, Paul Chang actually represents their riding, and there's a very large population of them there who have fled the country of China,
Right.
and others who have bounties on them as well. And that's a pretty horrifying thing to do. It's not a joke. It's not funny. It's very serious. And then it was about a day later, because the Conservative Party took this very seriously. And about a day later, there was 3 candidates over the course of 48 hours who they had spoken with, or they had things, a social media post of theirs that were uncovered of things that they said that were not all horrible. Some of them were awful, but things that nonetheless, we've set a standard and you are not a part of the standard anymore. I don't care if you're joking or not. Here's something you tweeted 2 years ago and we don't support that. And they removed these candidates from the party, as one should do. Really, like, if this is your standard, if somebody goes against that, okay, great. Thank you for using your free speech. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to run in this riding anymore because we don't agree with that. I don't know. I think that's
Well,
fair.
we also don't have freedom of speech. So that's an obnoxious,
Yeah.
but we don't have that. So that's obnoxious to think they could get away with it. Furthermore, let's take it down another step. We have no different than when we have the NDP from British Columbia who's hanging out with active known terrorist organizations, yet he is on the campaign trail. And let me be very clear, he is not far from me. He is close to me. He is driving distance in his riding, and he is a horrific individual who can get away with hanging out with known terrorists who are deemed terrorists by the Canadian government, and yet is still allowed to keep his seat and his riding. Help me understand.
Well, actually, he helped you understand earlier because he talked about this on X and he called anybody who calls him a terrorist a racist. So, case closed.
Yes. Yes, I'm super racist. Did you guys know that the black man that I'm currently with and the fact that I am also an immigrant means I'm racist?
Yeah, obviously. Duh.
Duh. I am clearly a racist. You know what I actually am racist against? I'm happy to say it. I have a real problem. I have a real fucking problem with terrorists. I am like the number one racist towards terrorists. I have such a problem with it that I went to another country to kill them. Like I am so racist towards people who believe in honor killings and marrying 7-year-old children to 50-year-old men and human trafficking in Langley Hotel, which he does nothing about, and also bringing in every major, just like the Indian president has said, some of the most dangerous individuals from the Indian gangs over to now Surrey. So, I am racist. You are right. I can't even say his name and I wouldn't even bother to utter it because it's a waste of my actual amazing God-given breath. But this man needs to go and is a real problem for Canada. People can't take me seriously right now. But here's the thing I need you to understand. When you have individuals who are hanging out with, promoting, allowing, and uplifting known terrorists and they're not being removed, you cannot tell me you trust the CSIS in any way or the RCMP in any way, because it is policing for me and not for thee.
It's a really messed up situation, and it is really shocking. And I think too, like, I just think about my life, and like, I've covered so many news stories, so many things in politics, and wow, is it ever eye-opening to see the way that stories get buried and really important things, and to see this culture of shame if you talk about something that you're not supposed to talk about. And it's really sad. It's really scary. And it just makes me pissed off. It makes me really pissed off. I think that's probably the best way to put it, because it's wrong. Let's
Right.
like, honestly, this isn't about right or left. It's right or wrong.
No,
So
it's right or wrong now in this
yeah.
country.
So what is that, and what are your standards, and why aren't you holding everybody to the same standards? And we don't, and it's sickening. And actually, just on the point again about Paul Chang and how the conservatives had actually, and Paul Chang was the liberal candidate for that riding, and he was the one who had uttered those threats about bringing that man to the consulate. Um, he had that happen. It was in the news cycle for a very brief period of time. And this was something interesting that I reported on my show, where the conservatives had dropped 3 candidates in a 2-day period. And each and every one of them had a banner across news platforms that said, "Breaking news, conservatives drop candidate for XYZ." That breaking news banner didn't apply anywhere at all for anything else at all.
Why would it?
And so it's dishonest, it's disingenuous. You clearly have a narrative, you clearly have a motive, you clearly have a bias, even though you claim not to. And at the end of the day, I mean, how far gone is this country where we can't even acknowledge that's really wrong? And I actually don't care that it was my party of choice who did this. It's wrong. And I'm holding wrong to the same standard always, because I have morals and values, and there's standards that I hold myself to. And just because I say that it's wrong because the party that I like did it, doesn't mean that I suddenly like the party that I don't like.
Okay.
Just means that it's wrong, and I'm a human, and I'm acknowledging that people aren't perfect. My party isn't perfect. People make mistakes. People make very intentional problems and issues for their own selfish, egotistical gain. But that it's wrong. And how far gone is Canada that we can't even admit that now? We can't even have honest conversation about something being wrong unless it's about somebody's politics that you don't agree with. And by the way, perfectly legal democratic parties in politics. It's not like people are upset about anybody because, they're breaking the law. People are following the law, and as citizens, you're expressing your democratic right, and you're shamed and silenced and censored for it. It's crazy.
Well, you've been shamed and censored and silenced for a long time. And like, this is like, again, this is not anything that is a surprise to anybody. Any Canadian who is speaking out, Liam right now, another individual from Blender Media, just got attacked last night by
I hear about
CTV
this. What?
and CBC. Did you know about this one? Let me pull it up
No.
real quick, because I think it's always worth supporting and making sure. Yeah, Liam posted this as well.
Leon the
He wrote-
Boer.
Yes, and he goes, apparently CBC did a piece on me last night referring to me as a hostile 30-year-old. He goes, okay, found the segment. It wasn't a piece on me. He goes, it wasn't a piece on me, I was told. However, they did me dirty. So they did a whole bit where they used his clips discussing it. He goes, they tried to tie me to the red pill incel movement.
Oh God.
And he quotes, in 3 years of doing this, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've talked about gender dynamics in my personal life. And then he goes, CBC, CBC News, CBC Toronto, you've been selected to get absolutely roasted. So my point is this is about to be a good one. So what they're doing, if you guys don't know who he is, go give him a follow. It's liam.out.loud. He's got an incredible platform. But the one thing I will say is they are literally going after anybody that's independent, any voice that is independent. They've been doing it for long enough now that we see their playbook. But the one thing they have not been able to control is when other people outside of this country start to listen and listen loudly. And that's what they're doing with your show. Can you talk to me about your show, how people can see it, view it, and support it, but mainly why you're doing it? Because you really could just be doing anything else. Anything.
I could be. I'm taking off my headphones for this one because I think my problem is fixed. Is it fixed?
Let's try.
Am I good?
Go. You were great.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful.
Okay. Amazing. I'll
Sorry.
put my sweater back on. The light and the dark are back. Please go.
So yeah, my show, gosh, I don't even know where to start. It's been so incredible to see how much it has grown in such a short period of time. And I think it really goes to show you how many Canadians, and not just Canadians, I also have a very large audience in the USA and Australia.
Yeah, you do.
Australia's politics are pretty much on par with Canada, if not worse in some regard, though. So I'm not surprised about that one. But I think it just goes to show how many people are feeling as though nobody is listening to them. When they speak, they are told to shut up. They are shamed for thinking things that are completely fair and logical to think. And they're just tired of it. And that's kind of my whole thing. And my story for why I started doing this isn't necessarily the happiest one. I was in a really, really, I've always been into politics though, from a very young age. Like I was like 13 or something. And that was just, I don't know.
That's also a wild thing, by the way, for a young Canadian at 13 to be like, politics does it for me.
I don't know why, man, but it just, I liked it from a young age for whatever reason.
I love it.
And so I worked in traditional media for 11 years and I had a really beautiful career for the most part. There were certainly many times where, I couldn't say what I thought, and that became very tiresome after a while, or you would be shamed or canceled or ridiculed over very common sense things that you would just say, that doesn't really make sense to me, or I don't, I'm going to do a story about this. And it was very frustrating. And then it wasn't until my late boyfriend passed away that I finally did not care at all about anything anymore. And I just there was nothing at that point in time that anybody could take from me, and there still isn't, that means anything to me. Like I've been to hell and back in terms of my mental space, and I don't care. You can roast the hell out of me. You can cancel me. I could lose all my money. There is nothing that is going to be worse than the pain that I felt going through all of that.
Right.
And I just don't care. So I feel like there's almost a level of feeling kind of invincible here. All that superficial stuff, oh, I'm going to lose my job. I did. Oh, I'm going to lose friends. I did. I don't care. At the end of the day, the one thing that does matter to me is saying what I think, being compassionate when as need be. Like I'm not an evil, nasty person by any means. And I have a lot of love to give the world, and I have a lot of love even for the people who wished me very ill will, because I'm sorry for them, and I hope that they stop feeling that way one day. But just overall, I had been in such a deep depression for a number of months, very, very deep suicidal depression. And I was actually trying to figure out how to have a conversation again because I was so convinced that I couldn't anymore. And I started YouTube because I had all the equipment. I was like, screw it. I'm here's a place. I'm going to go online. I'm going to say something, and I'm passionate about politics. I'm going to talk about politics and the culture wars. But nobody knows me. So this will just be me testing it out. I'm not going to get any views. Like, I don't know how any of this stuff works. And lo and behold, a year later, over 110,000 subscribers right now, charting on Spotify. It's just unbelievable. And it is also just quite crazy, given where I was mentally at the beginning. Like, it's really bizarre going through my old videos and remembering, like, I was in a really dark place those first couple of months. And wow, has life ever changed? And wow, have I ever learned that people that are conservative are kind and respectful, and they're normal human beings who just have values and morals that align with mine, who don't want to be taken advantage of, who are tired of being lied to. There's nothing wrong with the other side. Like, we are so primed into believing there is. And I've always been right leaning as well, but it has been incredibly eye-opening. Like, it really has been. It's just been such a beautiful journey, and I'm so grateful that I get to do it. It's never expected any of this, so that's pretty cool. But again, it's rather incredible to be this Canadian girl who was very close to not being here anymore and then decided to try this one thing as some last ditch effort. Because obviously, if you talk for a living and you feel like you can't have a conversation anymore, that's a big problem. So, so being in that position, and now I just get to do this and I just get to say what I think, and it resonates with people. And people say that I'm misinformed all the time, but I have yet to utter anything that is a lie. So it's just been really, 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 really crazy.
But that's a beautiful thing. You're not misinformed. You're telling the honest truth. And the thing that we understand, especially in coaching, and the thing that we understand when we're working with humans is we are mirrors. And all that you are doing is delivering information. And unfortunately, they're getting a mirror held up to them and a reality check that what they believe, how they think, their entire identity, all of it, every single piece of it has been a lie or a facade or something they don't believe themselves. Yet they've put themselves and caught themselves in this place. It's called the mirror effect. But here's the beautiful thing about the mirror effect. It has nothing to do with you. It's not about you. Their response to you is not about you. It is a reflection of how they feel about themselves and the unmet potential, the unmet success that you represent as a human. And you're just showing up where they couldn't have the balls to show up or even say to a family member, let alone get in front of a camera and be vulnerable to hundreds of thousands of people across the globe, to be ripped apart, to be judged, to be shredded. And the one thing I will say I love about your show is, to be honest, you say that Instagram and Meta are terrible platforms for you in terms of how people speak. I'm the opposite. Whereas YouTube is a cesspool for me. But when I did your show, it was the most positive interaction I've ever gotten from viewership in terms of comments and non-disrespectful comments.
See,
So I really do appreciate your listeners and your viewers, because for once I was like, damn, okay, this is not bad. Now, other platforms I'll go on, their YouTube makes me want to jump off a bridge. My YouTube, not great. But your comment section is just genuine everyday Canadians that are so fed up, and you have finally given them an outlet that they could trust. So it's not a surprise to me that you've grown in the way you've grown. It's not a shock to me that you're resonating. It's none of those things. You are, my dear, exactly where you are supposed to be. That makes sense.
stop. That's so
It's the
nice.
truth. I'm
My
not a nice
God.
person. You know this.
No,
That's how you know it's real.
thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I think it truly, just everything about it was not at all what I ever thought was going to happen. And it's wonderful how the world works sometimes. And to your comment as well about my audience, that is something I'm pretty big on. Like and I think a lot of that comes too from, I share how I feel. I've been quite vulnerable with people from time to time. And I love that, because to me, your vulnerability can be a superpower if you use it carefully and if you want it to be.
Yes.
And the world can be your oyster if you want it to be. And
Mhm.
I do genuinely have the highest aim imaginable with absolutely every single thing that I do. And there's
Mhm.
no pride or ego involved in anything that I'm talking about. I'm just like, here's something that happened and here's what I think about it. Here's how it's making me feel this day. And that's weird because, well, there's this piece of information. And, I'm just kind of connecting the dots, and it's not about the views or anything like that. It's definitely more about the community. So I also have noticed that, though, that everybody who watches me for the most part is pretty rational and cool, and I dig that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I appreciate it too. And I think it bears without saying, the people that are listening, they might not have seen you before. Most of my platform is about 80% American at this point. So if you guys don't know who she is the light version of me who is better researched. And she's who I get research from and also ideas from, and a brilliant human that I'm hoping you guys will see a lot more soon in my realm, and I in hers. And I'm looking forward to the growth of what that means for both of us, because it is about time that I've got to sit across from somebody that I enjoy talking about politics. And regardless of the hard conversations and regardless of the things we discuss, you bring a light and a levity to it, which is so necessary when discussing very heavy communistic dictatorships. And when you look at the reality of what you do, it's hard to not fall into the depressing side of things and the real reality of what it means to be a Canadian in 2025. It is not what it was when we grew up, my dear. It is not
who we ever thought it would be, looking like, identity-wise or otherwise. And I will say, after doing your show, people love hearing from the way you've lived your life, because it's one that people can mimic and be admired for, because it comes from an authentic place. And so I'm really glad we got to talk. I'm glad that people got to see a sillier side of you, if funner, if you will, side, one that takes yourself less seriously, because I love your vulnerability. I've loved it since the day I met you, and I knew that we were going to hit it off, but it's just about how much. And now, obviously, we will be doing karate in the garage probably for the rest of time. So, yeah,
Yes.
karate in the garage.
Oh,
It's my vibe.
wait a second. Wait a second. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh my God, I don't know if I can tell you. It's obviously a T-Rex.
Come on.
It's a T-Rex.
I'll take it. Fine. Mine's
Listen,
a
I think about-
metaphor. Does it count? Are
Okay.
aquatic animals? Yeah, no, megalodon. That counts. It's not a dinosaur, it's a fish, but whatever. It's prehistoric.
But it could count. But see, the reason mine is because I think I'm 6 foot tall, but I know I'm not. And you know how I know? Because my tiny hands exist. And so that's how I know, okay? Don't get me started.
You know, you're significantly shorter than I am, but people always have this assumption that I'm really tall. I don't know why. Because
How tall are you?
I'm 5'4". I'm nothing fancy.
Okay, perfect. Can we make sure that our cover art is us leaning up against each other to show the height differential? Just the most awkward height problem ever. And then when the show takes off, we're going to write a book, and it's going to be, mine's going to be the short version, you'll be the big version, and then we'll put them together. So you'll do full pages and I'll do half pages.
This
And
is iconic.
catch on.
I love the creativity here. It's good. I'm a fan.
You know how you get creative like that? Ketone IQ.
This is mine. I don't have it yet, so.
But we're going to superimpose Ketone IQ into it, and then they're going to sponsor our new show, right, guys? Right, guys. Anyway, I have to go grab my tiny human from the school I don't like sending him to go rewire all of the things that he's learned and make him a better human again. But that being said, not that your show needs any promotion, not that anybody needs a direction on how to find you, but you might as well tell him anyway.
Yeah, I'm all there for a shameless plug. You can search Jasmin Laine on any platform at all. No E at the end of Jasmin. My mother cursed me with being able to find souvenirs that have my name properly spelt on them at gas stations when we travel. And my show is called Over Opinionated, and you can find it pretty much everywhere except for Amazon, because I hate their support system right now.
Well, this is a valid point,
Yeah.
but also everywhere but OnlyFans. She does not have
Oh.
that. So when she says everywhere, she's lying.
Yeah.
That is the only lie she's ever told in her life. You're welcome. But hey, there's still time. You never know.
I might listen, desperate times. If Mark Carney gets in, I might lose all of this. So
That's all right. No, not might. We all will. And we will
Yeah.
have to collectively move across to the South. It's
Yeah.
okay. We can do political asylum. It's fine.
okay, I'm in. I'm sold.
Like my son says, it's fine, Mom. It's fine. That's how I feel about the government right now. It's fine. Tears.
Yeah.
Tears pouring down my face. Okay, everyone. I'll put everything in the show notes. You guys can go check her out. We had another banging episode on her platform that I went off like a fucking banshee with, as usual, but she gave me the space.
It was awesome.
So it's time. Thank you. It's time that she gets the space. And you guys are going to see more of us soon. Go subscribe. Go check out the sponsors. You guys know the drill. And we will see you all next week.